Gensan.
RPN Radio Philippines Network Gensan.
Gikan sa Tuna Capital of the Philippines, General Santos. Nagsibya sa gikusgon ni 5,000 watts. Kini ang sibianan sa RPN Radio Philippines Network. Radio Philippines Network. DXDX 693 kHz. Ang inyong Radyo Ronda sa syudad sa mga kampiyon. Live to the world pinaagi sa FB page karon mag-download na pinaagi sa Google Play o Apple Store, YouTube o Twitter. Alang sa mas kipakuskan ng mga balita, komentaryo, kasayuran o kalingawan. DXDX Size 93 ang mas kipakuskan ng inyong Radyo Ronda.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
Atong tabangan nga maluwas ang nagkagusbat natong kinaiyahan. Pinagis pagpananom og kahoy, paglimpyos, palibot, pagsegregate sa mga basurang malata o dili malata. Katalingbanong pag-alagad, gikan diri sa RPN DXDX General
RPN Radio Philippines Network Gensan. RPN Radio Philippines Network Gensan.
RPN DXDX General Santos.
Let's return to the concert stage in the United States with a live audience for the first time in more than 2 years. After health workers, the elderly and those with comorbidities, essential workers, and the indigent community, it is now the turn of minors and the general public to get vaccinated against COVID-19. But is the supply enough to cover this population? Our Trisha Tarada reports.
President Duterte has given the green light to vaccinate the general population, including adolescents, in October as supply stabilizes. Details are not yet available, but Malacanang says the A1 to A3 groups will still be prioritized.
Magkakaroon po tayo ng express lane para sa kanila. Pero ang importante lang, dahil nandyan na pong supply at ang naging problema naman natin dati ay kakulangan ng supply, ngayong maraming supply, sisimulan na po natin ang bakunahan ng general population.
The government urges parents to start enlisting their children for vaccination. Malacanang says once the master list is available, authorities will announce who will go first. As of September 28, more than 20.5 million people have ranked second in terms of the number of fully vaccinated individuals. Vaccine czar Carlito Galvez hopes to raise full vaccination rate to 50% in key cities, while he expects Metro Manila to achieve population protection by the end of October. Another goal for next month is to increase inoculation with 500,000 to 800,000 doses administered daily.
We will ramp up our deliveries. At least maka-reach po tayo ng 100 million by the end of the month so that we can open up more vaccination. Target na we will administer at least 55 million plus doses.
The president appeals to those refusing vaccinations to change their minds. He says it's important for everyone to get vaccinated to sustain the gains in the fight against COVID-19. If they insist on refusing vaccination, the president says he may have to flex the state's power for public welfare.
Not because we do not believe in your theory or belief or your religion, but because you are a carrier and a danger to society.
Talaga pong merong kapangyarihan ng Estado na gumamit ng police power para itaguyod ang ikabubuti ng karamihan. No? Pero pagdating po dyan sa bakuna, antayin po natin dahil kinakailangan din natin ng pulisiya.
In Davao City, Mayor Sara Duterte ordered the mandatory vaccination of city government workers. Those who refuse without valid medical reason may be suspended or expelled. The president seems to favor the same directive. So does Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana, who says 67% of ICU admissions and 84% of those intubated are unvaccinated. Trisha Tarada, CNN, Philippines.
Data from the National Task Force shows as of September 28, the country is close to receiving 70 million doses of vaccines. A huge bulk of the delivery is from the Chinese company Sinovac with 39 million doses, followed by U.S. drug maker Pfizer at nearly 11 million and British-Swedish firm AstraZeneca with nearly 9.6 million. The government set to announce before Friday whether it will retain Alert Level 4 in Metro Manila or lower it to allow more businesses to reopen. But hospital groups say it is too early to downgrade in the middle of the slow decline of COVID-19 cases. Our Tristan Odalo filed this report.
Hospitals remain full, hundreds of COVID-19 patients still on the waiting list before being admitted, and lack of manpower. These are some of the indicators why the Philippine College of Physicians and Private Hospitals Association of the Philippines believe that downgrading Metro Manila's alert level is not yet a good idea.
Hindi lang siya puno, no? Overflowing pa ang mga pasyente. Alert level 4, I think, to downgrade it, no, to alert level 3, I think that is too premature, no? Dahil hindi pa to, we need to be a little bit more patient para makita natin.
Right now, hindi pa rin talaga bumababa yung trend, no? Ang mga hospitals, especially private hospitals, they're still full. Mga doctors, talagang hindi nila sinasuggest na tayo mas lumuwag. Ayaw nga nila bumaba tayo sa level 3.
While both groups acknowledge that there have been several improvements in the hospital situation compared to the start of the surge, like shorter waiting time for admission and more efficient patient management system, these are not enough to say that we can afford to ease restrictions, especially since some health workers have resigned from their post.
And then yung ating mga nurses naman, marami ang nag-resign because they are planning to go abroad.
May mga nag-resign, yung iba naman ay na mga hinar ng DOH, no, ng ating government, hindi naman nag-renew ng kanilang kontrata.
St. Luke's Hospital, on the other hand, says that while they are seeing fewer COVID-19 patients now in their emergency rooms, their ICU facilities remain full. The hospital says situation now remains fluid.
Now, as of this moment, we have already rooms for our general nursing units. Not the ICU. I would like to just inform everyone our ICU beds are still full. However, our moderate to severe patients, we can start admitting already.
The Health Department reports that Metro Manila's healthcare utilization rate remains high. This means that despite lower COVID-19 cases, medical facilities are still full of patients. The Health Department says that they're carefully studying their data before making any recommendations on alert level change. So far, the business sector appeals to the government to downgrade the alert level system to 3 in order to allow more businesses to operate and to help the economy. Tristan Odalo, CNN Philippines.
Fewer COVID-19 cases today because of low laboratory output. The Health Department recorded over 13,846 new cases with nearly 40,000 new survivors and 91 deaths. 7 laboratories failed to submit their data. The DOH also fixing technical problems with its data repository system called COVID Kaya. The agency says the server has reached full capacity. The Information and Communications Department looking into the system. Health officials guarantee this will not affect their assessment of the situation. They say this only affects the number of recoveries and deaths.
Sa alert level system natin, ang metrics na ginamit natin ay yung dami ng kaso, no? That's one. And the second is the healthcare utilization. That's a different information system. When it comes to the case data, hindi siya naapektuhan kasi may access pa rin tayo sa CDRS, which is where we get the number of new cases, no? So nakakapag-compute pa rin tayo ilan ang bagong kaso ngayon, no? Ano yung 2-week growth rate, ano yung average daily attack rate. So it had no impact in the assessment.
But the University of the Philippines COVID-19 response says the government still needs to polish some data, including contact tracing, hospital utilization, and status of infected medical frontliners. An official of a controversial firm supposedly breaks her silence days after a bombshell revelation at a Senate probe. Members of the media received copies of a statement from Pharmalee's communications arm. The email contained a screenshot showing that the statement was supposedly sent by Crizel Mago this afternoon. CNN Philippines cannot independently verify if the signed statement was made by Mago. Senator Richard Gordon said the Senate did not receive it. In the statement, Mago supposedly apologizes for going off-radar after her testimony that Pharmalee swindled government by tampering with the expiration dates of face shields procured using public funds. It said, or the statement said, Mago needed some time to think because she felt pressured by the Senate probe. The statement also read that Mago was never threatened by anyone from Pharmalee. It assured that Mago would continue to cooperate in the legislative inquiry. A lawyer of Pharmalee Director Lincoln Ong is crying foul, saying he is unable to contact his client, who is under Senate detention. Ferdinand Topacio says Ong is facing mental torture. Footage released by the Senate today shows Ong taking a morning walk in the Senate premises. Gordon earlier threatened to cite Topacio in contempt after the lawyer said the Blue Ribbon panel is turning into a kangaroo court.
Is it written, unless I woke up in Thailand this morning, that you cannot criticize an institution or a public official? Last time I looked, that right was right there in the Constitution. So this is getting really ridiculous, and that only goes to show that they are a kangaroo court. And I will repeat this again. The Senate Blue Ribbon Committee, under the leadership of a Senator, Richard Gordon, is turning into a kangaroo court. It is a kangaroo court. Now, please, Mr. Gordon, if you have legal basis to cite me in contempt, please do so now.
Gordon advises Topacio to instead try to help the Senate not be distracted by sideshows. Coming up on Newsnight, more bodies retrieved following a tragedy at a waterfalls in Cebu, and lawmakers are confident the COMELEC will heed calls to extend the voter registration period. Details next. Stay with us.
Called controversial election and of the country's dramatic return to democracy. More than 30 volunteer encoders left their workstations on that fateful day of February 9th, 1986. They said results were manipulated to favor then President Ferdinand Marcos. A parallel count by poll watchdog NAMFREL showed opposition candidate Cory Aquino in the lead. It was history in the making. Would the sea of change have turned otherwise without the vigilance of citizens groups? In 1983, NAMFREL pioneered citizen-based election monitoring in the world. 3 years later, the group became a key stakeholder in the snap election, enlisting up to 500,000 volunteers. The volunteers were on watch in polling precincts and at the same time conducted a parallel vote count, as Filipinos, wary of alleged massive fraud, closely guarded the ballots.
We would know if the count is believable or has been manipulated. You have to ensure the integrity of the elections, that the elections will reflect the true will of voters.
The COMELEC accredits citizens groups every election to help promote voter interest and assist in poll activities.
Yan ang pinakamahalagang criteria. Non-partisan, walang kinikilingan. And then, titingnan natin kung meron silang kakayanan.
With the advent of automated elections, the citizens' arm remains a key participant in the process, with access to the COMELEC system to conduct an unofficial parallel count. The partial results would then be validated with physical copies of election returns. Besides NAMFREL, the PPCRV has also been accredited to do the quick count. Other poll watchdogs mushroomed through the years, though not necessarily accredited by the COMELEC.
We focus more on fraud as well as the misuse and abuse of government resources vis-a-vis the election.
With the COVID-19 pandemic likely extending to the election period, poll watchdogs say the biggest challenge is getting Filipinos to show up in polling centers to vote. They are calling on the Commission on Elections to make sure voting areas will be safe from the virus and secure from fraud.
Take it easy.
This is easy.
Gal Gadot shows moves worthy of Wonder Woman, taking down Dwayne Johnson and Ryan Reynolds in the first clip from Red Notice. The big-budget action flick about an FBI agent, an art thief, and a con artist debuts November 12th on Netflix. The sequel to Aquaman doesn't arrive until December of 2022, but its star is already trying to pique fans' interest. Jason Momoa tells Fandango the underwater action sequences in Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom have gone to a whole other level, and that the film has a lot more heart. He also praised the comedy in the script. Quote, "I giggled reading it."
The newest member of my family.
Dave Bautista has a new friend. The actor and animal lover had posted on Instagram trying to track down who abandoned the pit bull puppy, who was found eating garbage with a metal chain embedded in her neck. After several weeks of Humane Society care, the dog has a new home, a new name, Penny Bautista, and a new leash on life. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
Welcome back to Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines. The death toll in a tragic flash flood in a waterfall in Cebu rises to 3. Authorities said they recovered 2 bodies along a river early this morning. They were identified as 32-year-old Jacel Alastra and her 7-year-old daughter. The 2 had been missing since Sunday afternoon. They were among several enjoying a day out at Tinubdan Falls in Catmon town when a flash flood happened. The area was earlier eyed as a tourist destination, pending guidelines for its opening. A probe is underway to find out how people were able to access the falls. Filipinos will likely have more time to register to vote in the May 2022 elections. 2 lawmakers say the Commission on Elections has given assurances that a voter registration deadline will be extended from September 30th to October 31st. Senator Amy Marcos says the poll body's Deputy Executive Director for Operations informed her that the Comlacan Bank will pass a resolution tomorrow extending the registration period. Marcos chairs the Electoral Reforms Committee. Surigao del Norte Representative Francisco Jose Matugas, who sponsors COMEX's budget, also confirming the adjusted deadline during plenary debates on the proposed 2022 National Spending Plan. COMEX spokesman James Jimenez earlier told reporters the poll body will likely grant an extension. It earlier rejected requests from lawmakers and various groups, saying a later deadline would delay preparations for the elections. COMEX plans to limit voters assigned per precinct to observe physical distancing, but first it needs to finalize the total number of voters to determine how many precincts will be needed. Meantime, Filipinos continue to crowd registration sites, still hoping to participate in next year's elections. George Quila shows us the situation at one site in Manila.
People flock in this mall in Manila 2 days before the deadline of the voter registration. With the overwhelming number of people arriving, COMELEC Manila decided to accommodate those who arrived only until 8 a.m. Those who did not make it to the cutoff were advised to return the following day.
Bigyan nila dapat ng mahabang oras na yung tao. Kahit hindi na 200, bigyan nila ng lahat para matapos kasi interesado mga tao lahat lumoto.
Yung mga inabutan namin ng cut-off, ang ginagawa po namin sa kanila, kukunin namin yung pangalan nila, i-interviewin na rin ng kaunti. Tapos pag nakuha na po namin yung pangalan, ipapalista namin para bukas may appointment sila.
It's a totally different scenario inside the mall. People enjoy the comfort of their seats in an air-conditioned area like the movie theater. Police and mall guards ensure that basic health protocols are followed.
Bagamat gusto naming irehistro lahat, pero hindi na rin po kaya ng mga katawan ng mga taga-field office.
Pamula po nung naglunsad kami ng mall registration,
Halos 12 oras na pong nagtatrabaho yung mga empleyado sa field.
With the public demand to extend the voter registration, election watchdog NAMFREL joins the clamor for COMELEC to extend the registration for another 4 weeks.
I think this is sufficient already to handle the deluge of applicants to the various satellite voting centers and COMELEC offices.
NAMFREL says there are around 74 million Filipinos who are 18 years old and above come elections 2022, but only around 62 million are registered voters so far. George Cahiles, CNN Philippines.
The Liberal Party unveils its initial senatorial slate for 2022 with familiar names seeking re-election. In a statement, the LP said it nominated incumbent Senators Francis Pangilinan and Laila de Lima and former Senator Bam Aquino during its virtual National Executive Council meeting. The party also passed a resolution endorsing Senator RISA Hontiveros from Akbayan and human rights lawyer Chel Diokno as guest candidates. Pangilinan, de Lima, and Hontiveros earlier announced their bids for re-election. Diokno will give it another run after losing in 2019, while Aquino has yet to announce his plans. The party passed a resolution granting Vice President Leni Robredo full authority to initiate talks and create a united national slate of candidates for President, Vice President, and Senators. Robredo earlier called for a united opposition to challenge administration bets next year. A legend in literature passed away this morning. Bienvenido Lumbera, a Palanca awardee and National Artist for Literature, died at 9:14 a.m. today of stroke complications. He was 89 years old. Tributes for the late poet and professor all over social media, from former students to fellow writers like Lualhati Bautista and Noel Ferrer. Ferrer says novena masses and a memorial will be held every 8 p.m. or 8 in the evening from today until October 6. Further details will be announced soon. Coming up on Newsnight, it seems Vice President Leni Robredo holds the key to rock band's reunion, and Korean boy group BTS will hit the concert stage in the U.S., its first in-person show since 2019. More details when we return.
Vaccines for kids could be coming very, very soon.
I think we are going to submit this data pretty soon. It's a question of days, not weeks.
Last year, when Pfizer submitted the data for adults applied for authorization, the green light from the FDA came just 3 weeks later.
If they approve it, we will be ready with our manufacturing to provide this new formulation of the vaccine, because the vaccine that the kids will receive, which is 5 to 11, it is a different formulation. It is almost it's 1/3 of the dose that we are giving to the rest of the population.
Today is a big vaccine mandate deadline day in the Northeast. In Connecticut, school bus drivers must now be vaccinated or take weekly tests. Reportedly, some won't do either.
You're in a tight congregate setting, a bus, surrounded by kids who aren't vaccinated.
In New York State, deadline day for medical workers. Thousands still haven't gotten the shot. A staff shortage looms. In New York City, today was supposed to be deadline day for school employees, but a court issued a temporary injunction. There's now a hearing set for Wednesday. Meantime, around 38% of the NYPD remain unvaccinated.
Right now, we have 8 members of the NYPD in the hospital, all 8 unvaccinated.
Is there a connection between vaccination and hospitalization rates? Well, take West Virginia. Lowest vaccination rate in the nation right now, and the highest hospitalization rate.
We are going through the peak, and it looks like we're starting to turn down.
The Delta-driven surge is still rolling around the country, but
I think by Thanksgiving, it's probably going to have run its course across the whole country. Prevalence should decline on the back end of this Delta wave, and hopefully we get back to more of a semblance of normalcy, especially when vaccines hopefully will be available for children as well, and people will feel more comforted by the fact that they can protect their kids also.
with death on a Dutch railroad is being shared as a warning to others. Here's a warning for viewers. The woman was unharmed, but the video is no less shocking. A surveillance camera captured the woman wandering across the tracks in the Netherlands, seemingly ignoring lowered arms and flashing lights. When she makes her way back across, a speeding train barely misses her. The video was posted to Facebook by railroad company ProRail with a warning saying simply, "Don't do this." Speaking of Fast and Furious, fans of 2015's Mad Max Fury Road have a chance to get their hands on some pieces of Hollywood hot rod history from down under. Australian auction house Lloyd's is selling off the dystopian vehicles used in director George Miller's masterpiece of modern motor movie mayhem. The lot, called Expressions of Madness, features 13 vehicles from the flick, including the heavily armored war rig truck. Critics have hailed Fury Road as an instant action classic. It grossed more than $375 million and was nominated for a Best Picture Oscar. And finally, fast but not necessarily furious is how one could describe this pup's world record-breaking sprint around the bases at Dodger Stadium in LA. Macho's Mad Diamond Dash, clocked at 21.06 seconds, officially made the Russell Terrier the fastest ever to run the bases at a major league stadium. For Take a Look at This, I'm Jeremy Roth.
You're watching Newsnight. I'm Pio Ontiveros. San Miguel Corporation reiterates its commitment to provide sustainable and efficient public transport infrastructure amid claims that the Pasig River Expressway project will destroy the river's ecosystem. SMC President and CEO Ramon Ang says the company is holding consultations with various stakeholders and addressing all valid concerns. Ang refutes assumptions that Parex will do more harm than good for the Pasig River, citing the conglomerate's massive efforts to clean up the river system by allotting 2 billion pesos to remove 3 million metric tons of waste. He also rejects claims that Parex will worsen pollution. Ang explains the project's well-designed infrastructure will decongest cities, make trips faster and more economical, and help reduce air pollution caused by hours of traffic jams. He also clarifies SMC only had initial talks with Master Planner June Palafox's group and that no formal engagement has been reached yet. Now, for Eraserhead fans who are waiting for that long-anticipated reunion, you don't have to worry because there ain't no need to hurry. That is, unless you are Vice President Leni Robredo. Replying to a question on Twitter about the group coming back together, the OPM band's lead vocalist, Eli Buendia, said that it is possible if Robredo runs in the 2022 polls. Responding to a post about Buendia's tweet, Robredo shot an ambiguous reply of 3 runner emojis. Buendia later tweeted a disclaimer that his political opinions do not reflect that of other Eraserheads members. Filing for certificates of candidacy is set on for October 1 to 8. As of today, the vice president has yet to announce plans to run in next year's elections. In entertainment, shortly after Inigo Pascual's casting in Fox's next musical drama, another Filipino will be part of the ensemble of an American series. Broadway star Lea Salonga is joining Pretty Little Liars, the original Sin, the remake of a 2010 hit TV program. She announced the news on her Instagram page, sharing that she will be playing one of the mothers on the show. Salonga is set to star as Elodie in the suspenseful reboot series, which will stream on HBO Max. And before we go, 7 K-pop icons are coming back on stage for their first online concert in over 2 years. BTS will perform at an in-person event in Los Angeles, California on November 27 and 28 and on December 1 and 2. But fans who can't make it to the face-to-face gig still have a chance to hear some of the group's newest hit singles live. The Permission to Dance on Stage online show will stream on October 24, over a month earlier than the physical production. It is 88 more days before Christmas, and that is it for now. Thank you for watching. I'll see you again at 7 for News.ph. I'm Pia Ontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
RPN Radio Philippines Network, Radyo Ronda DXDX General Santos, member kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
Mas tulong lakas, Radyo Ronda Nationwide.
Tuna Exporters Multi-Purpose Cooperative. Tuna Exporters Multi-Purpose Cooperative.
Niining panahona, lisod alang kanato. Kasiguruhan, hilabi na niining panahon sa krisis sa COVID-19. Busa ang ayan gayon nga makasiguro kita sa atong paglahutay sa matag adlaw inubanan sa mga pag-ampo ug sa tamang sa labawng makagagahon. Ang Tuna Exporters Multi-Purpose Cooperative